with it, in the hood with it. Welcome back to Gunners Collective TV, where you already know I'm about to get it in, right? So I want to say I appreciate all the support that I'm getting. Hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you very much, man. I couldn't do it without you. Now, I really debated on doing this video, but I landed on doing it because I think there's some things that need to be said, right? There's some things that people are wondering, and I'll voice it. If no one else will, I will. So I've been asked for a couple days now, have I tuned in or have I watched the new Soft White Underbelly interview with boxer Enriquez? Now, if you've lived that life, doesn't matter what side you're on, you know exactly who boxer Enriquez is and who he was, right? And there's no denying it by the title of the video that Soft White Underbelly put up, right? An informant, a snitch who at one point in time, was in high regards was highly regarded as one of the most dangerous individuals in California history, especially within the prison system, right? A maniacal, diabolical individual, that dealt with treachery and disloyalty and everything else under the sun when it comes to the prison lifestyle. And was really, a guy that, definitely was outspoken. And I think more so after he got out of that lifestyle, more than anything, and continues to be. And that's the reason why I wanted to do this video was boxer Enriquez, paroled about 1.5 years ago. And when he was finally granted parole after several times, there was a lot of people that questioned that. They were tripping on why someone who has so many bodies under his belt or has been alleged to have been involved with so many bodies in the prison system and even on the streets would be allowed an opportunity at the streets. Someone who has showed the error of their ways and has changed their life, I believe definitely should be granted some type of get back, some type of action. Now, in Boxer's case, did he just do too much to be granted that? I don't know. That depends on how you feel about the individual. Now, we know what it took to get him there. This man didn't just start doing right and overnight, man, change his ways of thinking and become a successful member of society and be granted parole so he could be productive in the community. This man flipped. He ultimately did what is basically supposed to be, he did the worst thing he could do in that lifestyle, which is flipped on his gang. And not only did he drop out of the clica or wherever he was involved in, right? The prison organization. But he took a lot of people down with him. And for some reason or another, this vato just can't stay out of the limelight. So when he was granted parole, there was a lot of people that put their neck on the line for this guy. People like Mundo Mendoza, who's just almost as notorious, if not more notorious than Boxer in some aspects, right? Other people that chose to step up to the plate and plead for this man's mercy and to give him another chance. Now, subsequently, since he's been out, he's been very quiet. He hasn't been vocal, but that didn't last too long. That usually doesn't last too long, man. When someone, that's all they know, that lifestyle, it's hard for them to let it go. I could identify, I could understand. No, I never achieved the high levels that this man achieved. But again, at the same time, I never chose to go the path that he did to get out. Now, ultimately, you could cut it however you want to slice it and dice it. This man knew exactly what he was doing and what the outcome would be by flipping, by debriefing to the fullest, man, and getting out. And he's probably the most notoriously known debriefer ever, right? Because we've seen the videos on YouTube of him speaking and his intelligence, his mouthpiece, his swag, his sway, the way he carried himself, the way he was basically talking circles around the Fed handlers, right around the feds, was a sight to behold, was crazy. You would have thought that you were sitting down listening to a professor speak. That goes to the old saying, never judge a book by its cover. Never think that you know someone better than they might be reading you. He's basically one of those individuals that studied, read books, surrounded himself and educated himself with nothing but things that can help him be successful in life, whether it was as a gang member, as a part of an organization, or even as a free human that's not involved in that. Now, as of right now, we know Boxer's not in the greatest of standings. And he chose to do an interview with Soft White Underbelly. Now, Soft White Underbelly is pretty notorious itself for bringing you guys interviews of people you wouldn't necessarily come across in everyday life. Drug addicts, tweakers, prostitutes, everything under the sun, even inbred people. And the channel blew up off a family called the Whitakers, right? And there was a lot of people that became great fans of the Whitakers and loved the way that the owner of Soft White Underbelly was helping, or what they believed to perceive as helping, a family in the rural parts of the country. And it opened the eyes to the people that never thought these type of individuals existed, right? Now, lately, Soft White Underbelly has been bringing you more gritty content, meaning more individuals that lived the gang life or were incarcerated a number of years. This one with Boxer is unprecedented because I didn't think Boxer would actually sit down for an interview, at least not this soon. But just like anyone who's done an extensive amount of time and lived that life, they enjoy, the notoriety. They enjoy the clout. They enjoy being perceived as that one and the power. You get drunk with power. I've seen individuals do it here on YouTube. I've seen individuals do it in prison as well as the streets. I remember a homeboy getting put in a position within the COC, with a little bit of status in the Northern movement, and didn't know how to act, and ultimately wrecked his own career because he got drunk with power and he started treating homeboys less than, and he started manipulating people and showing too much favoritism, and ultimately he got himself in a wreck. When you're given a position, with the understanding that you know how to wiggle with it, you know what to do with it. Now, Boxer is a different level of character or man when it comes to anybody that Soft White Underbelly has brought on. His credibility is different. His stories are different. They ring truth because there's a lot of truth to them. This is a guy that when the gang underworld achieved the highest level, no matter how you want to slice it, dice it, and cut it, what he represented at one point, man, is the epitome, the top of the mountain, where those that peak a lot will never see. Okay, we'll just say it like that. So when I seen this interview, my take on it was, this man just went from invisibility and invincibility to now becoming even more of a target than he already was. He's continuing to egg on people. Okay, regardless of what you may think, if you know anything about Boxer Enriquez's story, you understand that he comes from meager beginnings. He comes from a situation, if you read his book, man, where he grew up in a barrio. He grew up with less than. He grew up like a lot of us grew up, only prior to when we were doing it. And the gang underworld took him down a lot of twists and turns. And I think we all pretty much know his story by now. But there's a lot of intriguing questions that we didn't know or don't know, as why ultimately he decided to flip. What was that one thing that pushed him over the edge? See, everybody has a story. I've told my story before, and to be truthfully honest with you, I was not ready to go. I was not ready to be not in the greatest of standings. I still loved my people. I still love my people to the ends of the earth, right? But I understood that the very few that were in front of me weren't being productive within that lifestyle, so I held them accountable, and in the end, I suffered for it. And I think as gang members, a lot of us that were involved try to do the right thing, try to act accordingly, try to be cut from that cloth, and realize the treachery, the situations that you find yourself in are just what they are, man. It is what it is. To be honest with you, excuse me, I'm kind of sick, man, under the weather, so I'm just trying to get this spill out. But to be totally honest with you, you don't hold your destiny in your hands. You may think you do, but others hold it in their hands. And you could be on a yard in the prison system or even on the streets and thinking that you're doing everything accordingly within the gang politics and all that. And just like that, your whole world could turn upside down. You could find yourself in a situation where you're the victim. You're the one that everyone's looking at. So with Boxer, he had achieved the epitome. And he decided for whatever reason to flip. Now, when I seen this interview, I was hoping they would get to exactly that. You know, the meat and the potatoes of why. Why did you decide to debrief? Why did you decide to ultimately leave your gente behind? You know, was it greed, selfish intentions? Was it, to finally just get out? You were tired of living that life. You were tired of victimizing people. Because that's what a lot of people will tell you. I've seen so many different stories and so many different people mislead people, lie to them straight up. Oh, bro, I flipped or I dropped out or I stopped gangbanging because I was tired of seeing my familia hurt or I was tired I was tired of being in that situation. Ultimately, I'm going to be honest with you. There's only one or two reasons why you fall off, right? Well, if you're removed, whacked or whatever, for whatever reason, that's a whole different story. That's a different you're not in good standings because you fucked up and you got removed, right? But for those that fall off or defect or decide to go the other way, quit gangbanging or whatever, one of the reasons is they're fed up. They're fed up with the lifestyle. They're fed up with the redundancy of every day being incarcerated, of hurting people, of hurting their families, hurting themselves. They just get tired. Vatos become old and aware, wiser in their ways. And they feel there's nothing more to contribute. They feel that there's nothing more they can do for their cause. Their beliefs start to waver for whatever reason. And then there are those that see it for what they believe it is. Now, I'm not here to poison people and say it's not what it's cracked up to be or they're misleading you or any of that. Because each person plays the game differently. Each gang and organization is different. Maybe you fought shit was supposed to be one way and it just turned out another. But 9 times out of 10, most of us that were involved at that level or even a higher level like Boxer was, we know what time it is, man. A lot of these dudes get out of the way because they're greedy and they don't care about no one else but themselves. But when you're a part of a group in the gang, you're not supposed to. Okay? That's the reason you involve yourself in these type of things is because it's all about you and yours and how you feel and how you make it. And Boxer was definitely one of them guys. I believe, just me saying he got out of the way and did what he did because he was just tired of being incarcerated. He's seen an opportunity. He's seen an opportunity and a way to get out, and he took it. Now, what makes him more special than everyone else is he probably did more damage to the group he was from than any other person. I mean, damage on a different scale, right? There's laws and politics and things that have changed because of what this man said and what he hit the feds and the cops to. His debrief was a real one. That's what it looks like, right? And because he spoke with such intelligence and charisma, his charisma, a lot of people gravitated towards the way he was speaking, towards the way he carried himself. But quietly as it's kept, there's a lot more individuals that are the exact same way. They just choose not to speak on certain things. It's the truth of the matter, right? Boxer, I won't say is a dime a dozen, but he is definitely an in-depth look into that world and how intelligent the criminal lifestyle can make you. It shocked everybody. There were psychiatrists that made videos about Boxer because they couldn't understand the level of intelligence this man possessed. And it's a scary thing for those that don't live in the gang life or are not aware how intelligent, a person can be and how their skill set can manipulate you and ultimately unalive you. It's crazy, right? So I'm going to be honest with you. When I say the invisible man, I believe Boxer should have stood invisible. Because what he's doing now, for whatever reason he's doing this interview for, whether Soft White Underbelly paid him and he needed money, which I highly doubt, right? Or this is part of his parole plan, to go out there like Mundo does and give these interviews and these in-depth stories about, things they were a part of or things they seen, or it's just the power, still wanting to be a part of that life, knowing that you can't be, but living through interviews and things. Now, I don't think there's anything Boxer could say we don't already know, other than that question, like I said, why? And that's a question, man, that I'm sure is going to be asked over and over again. This just is going to open the floodgates. Once he does one interview, why not do more? Did he choose the right platform to do the interview? I'm not going to hate on that platform and say he didn't. I believe that interview was carried out precisely the way it was supposed to be. I believe that Boxer made a mistake in doing the interview because you're just opening up old wounds. You're just reminding people that you've done bad, that you're still out there with a smile on your face. See, a lot of these guys that got done dirty or felt that they were done dirty because of some of the things Boxer exposed or said, man, are still alive, are still, moving around. And unfortunately, man, they have to turn on, their iPad or whatever they got going on, their tablet, and see this man living his best life. Now, ain't nothing wrong with this man speaking on his past experiences. I think we all do. But the level that this man was at, it's kind of like a slap in the face of those that are still fucking doing their thing, right? I believe it's dangerous. It's a dangerous situation. I think Boxer probably would have been better off not doing this interview and staying out the way. Like I said, since he was paroled, he's been very quiet. I think the last thing I heard about Boxer, man, was, when his son passed. That was a situation that I didn't speak on when it happened, just out of respect for his parents and respect for his life, right? But he was killed, and I wondered how Boxer would deal with that grief. And I wondered if Boxer would just disappear into oblivion and become the Invisible Man. But now he's resurfaced, and he's resurfaced in a big way, giving this interview. And you could tell they blurred out his face because, he's a high notoriety case. Kind of like Sammy the Bull. When Sammy the Bull first did his interviews, he had disguises on, muffled his voice, covered his face. I'm not too sure if Boxer still is in the witness protection program or what he's got going on. But you notice how him, Mundo, guys from that side always muffle their voices or cover their faces or something. That shows the level of viciousness that they were a part of, right? And they're of an understanding because best believe, man, that's why when all these guys throw their weight around talking about how gangster they are and they're down, they'll do this. It's like, bro, you see real ones that were really in that life. They're even covering their faces because they know what time it is, man. I think Boxer should have stood invisible. I think, like I said, this only opens up old wounds. And this is just my perspective of the video. I thought it was great questions were asked. It was an intelligent video interview. Again, when you're someone that's not a part of that lifestyle and have never been, you're just a journalist, you got to watch what you ask and watch what you say because that man has spoken on a lot of people and gotten a lot of people incarcerated and caught up or, stretched out for the duration. And you just got to weevil around the way you do things because when you shed light on certain aspects of the game that their light shouldn't be shed on, ultimately that's on you. You make your bed, you got to lay in it. So I watched the interview, like I said, thought it was a good interview. Didn't think I learned anything more about Boxer than I already knew. Of course, he's not going to tell you where he's living. He's not going to tell you what he's into or involved in now. That would be foolish, right? And it'd be a mistake. And this Vato's a highly calculated individual that doesn't make too many mistakes. Other than what I think he just made is doing this interview. People were starting to forget about Boxer. He was starting to fade away, which is when you've debriefed or you've done things like that at that level, you want to just disappear into the wind, right? And live your life. But I guess that's not what he's planning on doing. I guess he's got other plans. And like I said, when you've lived that life at that level, man, and you were so respected, maybe respect means more than anything to you. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to identify with Boxer's plight and some of the things he went through. And it's funny because me, myself, man, I'll get shit talked about me. I'll get, constantly called a dropout or this, and that. And I wasn't even on the level of this man. Didn't wreck careers like this man allegedly did, right? But I'll watch the comments and be like, oh, he's a real one. He lived that life. Yeah, all that's out the door, man. All that's out the window once you flip, right? And that's just what it is. Anyways, man, that was my perspective on it. Again, I don't think he should have did that interview just based on, let people forget. Stop opening up old wounds and poking the bear. You poke the bear, man, Smokey will turn your campfire out. That's just what it is. That's just the truth of the matter, man. I'm not saying people are seeking this guy or there's a green light on this guy. That's not for me to speak on. I'm just saying, he was on a whole different level of gangsterisms and he should have just let it go. If you're going to let it go, let it all the way go. It's cool to tell your stories, but like I said, this man had a whole different status than myself and certain people that are content creators. But to each their own, man. I can't knock the man's hustle. I don't know what he's going through in life, if he's just at the fuck it point. I've seen content creators that have accepted their fate, they say, maybe he's accepted his. I don't know. But fate as it may be, I just think he could have handled the situation differently rather than going on to giving another interview. But again, like I said, there could be things behind it. It could be part of his parole plan. It could be part of his, just helping himself. I don't know. At the end of the day, we'll watch and see what happens with Boxer. This is The Gun. Bang, bang.